And so now, well, let's go on to talking about some loops. So let's say you wanted to output multiple things to the user, or like do a step over and over until a certain condition is met. We have loops to do this, and so the first one I'm going to tell you about is a do-while loop. So basically you put do, and then you put a bracket in, hit down, and it'll put, here, one second. Oh, yep, it's just telling me to finish something off. So you put the do in, and then your code that you want to do automatically will be put in here. So let's say system.out.println hello. And then we had to put a while down here, and then put our condition statement. And we can just put while let's create a variable up in here. Int I equals, or int I equals 0, and then we'll do I plus plus. So that adds 1 to it. I think I forgot to mention that in the last one. And same for if you wanted to subtract, you do I minus minus, and it just subtracts 1 or adds 1. So then let's put in this while loop, or in this while statement, let's put while I is less than 10, and then let's finish her off. Let's see. Now, why is it telling me this? Let's try to declare this out of the loop. That's probably our issue. Okay. There we go. Yep, see, you can't have it in the loop because it doesn't know if this is going to execute, so this has to exist before the loop. Alright, so now we can see how this works out. And see it prints it out 10 times. Because we have I is less than 10, and each time we go through the loop, it adds 1 to it. But now let's say we say I is less than 1, or 0. It will print out once, even though I is 0, because this do loop automatically runs this code no matter what, and then it checks whether the condition is true at the end to make the loop go again. So that's a do while loop, and it's pretty useful. And then the next loop that I'll tell you about is just the while loop. And it's the same thing as before. I'm going to create the integer variable. Set that equal to 0. Create our while loop, and then we can do I is less than 10. Put our bracket, and then put our code in here. Oh, actually, I'll print out the variable so we can see that it goes through. And see, it always stays at, shoot, I forgot to change it at the end, so I'll add the I++, and then we'll actually see how she works. Because right now it keeps on running. I got stuck in an infinite loop. Don't do that. Okay, so as you can see, it runs 10 times. And it gets up to 9 because when it adds 1 again, it will not meet this condition, and it will not do the loop again. And so this one I use a lot more than the do while, just because it just happens to be more useful for what I need. And yeah, so that's basically the while loop. And so now the for loop, which is a little bit different. You declare the variable inside that you want, Oh, and one thing about the while loop I forgot to say is it does not automatically execute. It has to have the condition true every time it executes, even the first time. So that's the difference between the do while and the while. Alright, so now let's put in int I equals 0. Then we put a semicolon. Then we put I less than whatever number we want, say 5. And then we put the thing that changes at the end of the loop. So it's basically what I was doing in the other loops, except it's a more streamlined way of doing it. Oh, gotta get rid of that. Can't define two variables with the same name. And then let's do system.out.print line I. Okay, and you see it does the exact same thing as the while before, except this one has the variable. It takes all the things that it needs to do after the loop is over as parameters. So it says when it creates the variable I equals 0, and then it says what I has to be, or what condition has to be true in order for it to execute. And then it says after this is done, do this. So so basically I must be less than 5, and then after it's done executing, add 1 to I. So we get this output of 5. 5 outputs, I mean. And this one is a really useful one too for your programs. Basically all these are useful. I mean, just remember them all. I keep saying that they're useful, and yeah, just remember them all. So, and then we have our for each. So this one's a little more complex. It deals with arrays, and an array is like a group of data inside of a variable. It's I'll go into a little bit more depth later on, but here I'll just create an array quick. Okay, here you go. Int array I equals new int array, and then you put the length of the array in here. So let's make this 5. Okay, now that we got that all straightened out, you can just do I. Now it's like, let's add values to each of these spaces. So let's do I at 1 equals 1. And I'll just fill these in. Three equals 3. 4 equals 4. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to start at 0 because the array started at 0 as their first index. So all of these will get bumped down one number. Alright. So now, if we wanted to print all of these numbers out from the array, and we wanted to do it really easily, we can do a for each loop. Actually, I'll show you how to do it with a for loop first. So let's do this. Int I equals 0, semicolon. I is less than 5, because that's the length. Well, I'll teach you a good trick to use so that you don't ask for a spot that's longer than the array. I'll go into more depth about that later, but if you ask for a location in the array that doesn't exist, it will return an error and your program will crash. So a good way to prevent this is using the length of the array. Oop. Here. Change that quick. and you see there's a nice length thing right there, and that returns the length of the array, so that this does not exceed the length of the array and try to access a spot that isn't there. And then we'll do I++, okay? And then system out print line. Now what did I do up here? Oh, jeez. Put I there, you can't do that. Alright, so then let's print out the location I, and then put n there. So it takes the I array and finds the nth location, which is this number. And I'll show you how this works. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2. Nope, let's change that to 5. You see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it goes through the whole array and takes each value out. That's one way to do it, but there's even an easier way, which is the for each. And if you just go int I, and then you put that in there, then you just have to go system.out print line n. Oh, need a T there. And you see it does the same thing, but it's way less code. So you put the variable that you want to contain the value of I that you're selecting, and in between you do int or whatever the type that you're trying to get out of I, variable, colon, and then do the array that you're trying to access. So in this case, our array is named I, and you put the I there, and then you just put out whatever you want to do is system.out system print, and then just put n, and it'll print out, or whatever other thing you're trying to do with your array, and it'll assign the value that's currently being pulled from the I array into this one, into this variable. And you can do whatever you want, and it's really simple, really easy to use. And so that's all I've got for you guys this tutorial. Next tutorial we're going to keep working on our program and then work with some basic loops and some adding, subtracting, multiplying, stuff like that to create a program that we can use and practice our programming. So I'll see you in the next tutorial, and thanks for watching.